Hello, my name is Yorick. Welcome to the Rob Rivers Horror Show, where everything horror gets us stabbed at. Will they survive or become one of the dead? Let's find out what he's going to look at today, shall we? Hello, and that is Entity, one of the three films that I will be looking at today. Hello, my name is Rob Rivers. I am a horror enthusiastic, and of course, I look at everything from horror to fantasy to sci-fi and anything in between and in the middle. All right. So let's just jump right into it and take a look at Entities. This is 2013's Entity, brought to us by Fangoria magazine, which is an excellent or I should say a good, this good horror magazine. But what do we got here? A television show called Darkest Secrets looks into the discovery of 34 bodies in a shallow grave out in a forest area in Russia. All right, led by a psychic, they come across the path, which is open field into like a large oval to where the bodies were found. All right, now the psychic seems to see something beyond the field and says, "What's over there?" And they said it's some kind of building. So, of course, they head over to the building where they get inside and they only find the true terror that lurks. All right, as she continues to investigate, she finds out that they should get out of there. This is not a place that they should be at because something is going to want them dead. And, of course, does it stop there? No, they got to go find out what it is. And then chaos starts to begin and the severe threat of an anxiety kicks in and everybody's panicking and stuff like that. And what are they going to do? So what works in the film? Well, the tone works. So tone works beautifully. The film is creepy and eerie throughout the film and never lets up on its darkness. All right, the acting is decent enough. So it is an enjoyable type flick. But what doesn't work is the style of the filming. This is what's really a downfall. About 75% of the film is shot in third-person mode. All right, the other 25% is shot in first-person mode. What we get is the first-person mode areas are when the entity attacks, and so it's hard to understand what's going on here. The camera starts moving all around, we get disoriented pictures, and then we switch back to third-person mode and the after effect. All right, this is where the viewers can feel cheated. It is also a very cheap way for the director to kind of ignore special effects or trying to stop from creating any type of terror because it's not there. It's just like we're looking at it and going, what? What's going on here? And of course, this is the biggest downfall of the film. All right, overall, Entity does have its good points. The film does hold your interest, and it starts making you feel for these people that are inside the building that are trapped. And of course, we don't get any answer to exactly what this entity is trapping them for, or why, or who even this is, or what it even is. But the film would make a good example of how not to direct your film. Don't do this for filmmakers out there. Don't go from third to first. That's too confusing, especially when the action is going on. If you're a filmmaker, I suggest you view this film so that way you can see how from switching from third person to first person mode is very ineffective. My grade for it, C-. The dead feast on human flesh and stop at nothing for it. The living, confined to dark quarters of the world, must do what it takes to survive. Dying is the only thing left to do at the end of the world. See Bled White. For more information, go to bledwhitemovie.com. All right, let's take a look at The Devil's Pass, shall we? And oh, by the way, you having a good day out there? I hope you are, and stuff like that. Hopefully we can do this. All right, second film here. The Devil's Pass. Some filmmakers decide to head to Russia toward the mountains where some explorers in 1959 were found dead without any explanation. One of the bodies had a crushed skull with no signs of impact, and another body had broken ribs, and there was no sign of impact or bruising. They were just busted. As our film crew heads up the mountain, of course, they're set up by the villagers, and of course, they're saying, don't go up there, you're in danger. And of course, ignoring the warnings, they head up the mountain, camp on the first night. They wake up and they find some strange footprints out in the snow. It's very snowy up there in Russia. And what's weird is that you got one set of footprints start here and they end here, and there's nothing else around there. So there's no signs of anybody actually planting them in there, even though parts of the film crew and the guide think that the director set this up. So I don't know how she can set this up when there's no sign of anything. So they finally head up further, and they finally find the area where the explorers were found. The director, narrator of the thing, starts going around spray painting where the bodies were and starts giving you some kind of narrating the documentary. During the night, it was actually really early in the morning, about 6 o'clock that morning, on the mountainside there, a loud boom interrupts them, sending an avalanche that comes down to wipe out their camp. Unfortunately, one of them ends up dying, but the others survive. Now, before this happened, they managed to find a door that led inside the mountain. And they're not sure. The door is open, it's just frozen shut. And they had to dig through the snow on this. This is where it gets kind of hokey, because I thought it was off to the right where the avalanche happened. So meanwhile, after the avalanche, they're chased by a couple of guys from guns that end up running inside the mountain. And of course, as they get inside the mountain, they are faced with what is inside of the mountain. And believe me, it's not good. So we're going to kind of leave it as there, because that actually is like more than about the first hour of the film. The film is only like an hour and a half long. So what works in the film? Well, only the acting. The acting is about the only thing. It does look like it was filmed outside, so it doesn't look like it was filmed in a studio at all. The snowy cliffs and everything and beautiful scenery. The so-called special effects of what's inside of the mountain, they're okay, but it's just so dark. So what doesn't work in the film is the film itself. Here we go again with one of these first-person films again, and somehow filming crew heads off into an area where they have no idea where they should be, no idea where they're going, and they have no idea what they're up against. I'm getting very tired of this. That we spend most of the time arguing, bickering with useless dialogue more than we do anything else. And after we find out what's going on inside the mountain, we are subject to the darkness of the territory again, and we have to guess what is going on because we never get a clear picture. Why they do this is such a cheap and non-effective way of doing this. Overall, The Devil's Pass is a film that you can pass on because there's nothing new here, and the ending is somewhat satisfying. It's not like your average other first-person films or a documentary film. It is a little different, everything. But I'm not sure what the whole idea of the film was, except for one of these first-person films that either can make you sick without camera movement, but there's not much in it. Frustrated because you can't tell what's going on, or just sick of the same old story. My grade for this one, D+. Only because I think it's once they get after inside the mountain, it actually becomes a little interesting. It's just getting there is the problem. So that's one reason why I didn't fail. Like I said, maybe you want to check it out, but it's nothing. Don't forget to check out Plastic. There's my lovely daughter, Tawny. Not only did she play a victim, but she also did all the blood work for the film. You can check out more films at skibofilms.com, where you'll find Blood White and others. See you there. Hey, you know what time it is? It's Screamer time! It is Screamer time. This is where I take a look at a book, movie, poem, artwork, whatever that is absolutely a stinker. You want to scream at it for wasting your time, money, whatever it is that you applied into it. And today's Screamer, unfortunately, is Greystone Park. All right, give you a quick lowdown here. Some researchers decide to go into an abandoned mental hospital for some research on some legends about the place. Well, we all know things are critically bad, and they're going to get even worse as we go along here. First, we get some setup scare and some crappy attempt at suspenseful moments. As the film gets going, we get a bunch of swearing, arguing from these youngsters. They want to get out of there, but their main guy keeps leading them further and further. They go from the top floor to the basement, where we get set up for another scare. And I mean, these are setups. They're not real. Of course, when the real terror comes forward, you can't tell what's going on because the camera is doing all this and everything. It's another first-person film, and it's bouncing all around. You get wall shots, the ground shots, black. There's nothing but blackness, and along with more swearing. And you sit there and you really want to back up and say, what the hell is going on in there? But do you really care? Not really. There is nothing good about this film. Not one blessed thing. The whole film is bad, and what's even worse about this film, it's done by a relative of Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone is an excellent director who has done films such as Platoon, The Doors, JFK, and you would think Oliver Stone would have gave this guy some pointers. And if he did, man, they weren't very good. Oh, avoid this film as much as you can unless you want to have a reason to watch it. It's not how to film your movie. Okay? And that happens to be a lot in this segment, as the segment was just basically about first-person mode. Like I said, there's only certain films that should be in this. We started off with the Blair Witch Project, or The Last Broadcast, from what I understand, that was first. And we have gone still to this day, people are using it, and they are not all effective. There is a couple others that have been that I'm going to review later on, and so forth. But please, double think this. I know it's cheaper than using instead of a third person, but let's think about your scripts, people. Think about if the film is really going to be effective. That's a screamer for the day. Oh, yeah. Okay. Before we go here today, what I wanted to do was show you some artwork. I've been, big horror enthusiastic, and I, read it, write it, and we'll get to that later. But I also enjoy reading the poetry and stuff like that, but also artwork of horror. And one of my favorites has always been The Scream by Edvard Munch, back from 1893. Here, let me show you what it looks like right here. And here is this lovely painting here. A lot of some good abstract work here. I really do like the curviness of the clouds and the curviness of even of the human body as it's screaming, and the mixture of the red, white, orange. Stuff. Oh, here's Bender. Oh, look at Bender. He's always got something to scream about, especially when it comes to a broken bottle of booze, which is there in the corner. But other than that, he really doesn't scream too much, unless maybe he had Fry in the background dead, or I don't know. And of course, Homer Simpson, he's screaming. You can see Marge, Maggie, and Lisa in the background, when actually it probably should be Patty and Selma. That's who I'd be screaming at. Yeah. Here's my favorite, SpongeBob with Squidward. We all know why Squidward is screaming here. I mean, if anybody has ever watched SpongeBob, there is just no question at all. This was truly a classic one. And that is some great looking stuff. If anybody knows where I can buy some of these posters and stuff like that of The Scream, and at least I would like the SpongeBob one, yeah, because if you watch SpongeBob, you really understand what Squidward's got to scream about there. So you can reach me at robriversrocks@gmail.com. And be looking for some of my other shows. I've got a lot of other great stuff to lined up for you. I'm going to be doing poems, some more artwork, books, and speaking of books, why aren't I doing a book right now? What am I waiting on? 11:30? I'll be here before I know you guys don't understand that joke and everything, an old Richard Pryor joke and stuff. But let's get into a book right now. Let's take a look at one. The Conqueror Worms by Brian Keene. Big giant worms coming from the mountains invade the USA, and of course threaten life existence as it is. How are we ever going to survive? Check it out. The Conqueror Worms, no relation to the Vincent Price movie of the similar name, that's Witchfinder General. But this was the very first Brian Keene novel I ever read. It's a page-turner, action-packed, and you will not be disappointed.